Cisco WebexOne. Wow. Gosh, I think I've attended three of these before. I saw the news. Break down the show, Mel.
So, as to be expected, there were, a lot of AI assistant capabilities for contact center and WebEx Suite. Um, but I think those are, like I said, to be expected. There were a couple of pretty big standout things. I'm not sure if you saw anything about this. They're real-time media models in WebEx, which basically enables analysis of the audio and video beyond just the text space. So we didn't see a whole lot of this. There was, this was more of an announcement, and I think they're going to have to be careful with how this is used because I think this could creep people out a little bit, but it can analyze like gestures, tone of voice, inflections, for kind of more enhanced evaluation of communications. But the one thing that was really kind of incredible, and if you were to ask me ever in my life, and I'm pretty nerdy, but if you were to ask me ever in my life if I would be talking to you about audio codecs, I would tell you I wouldn't even have known what that was, but they have a new audio codec which actually uses AI to maintain the audio clarity, like when you have a bad network. So, and they did show this. So when there's a bad network connection, the normally you'll get the glitchy audio. This actually replaces or reconstructs the packets, and it gets, and they say up to even 90% packet loss, and makes the audio completely clear. So in like the demo of it, you kind of see it on the the graph or whatever it is where it like drops. But using AI, it actually puts that audio back together, and it goes from glitchy hearing every seventh word to being completely clear. So that was pretty cool. Um, and it really does line up with what Cisco kind of stands for in terms of like making sure every voice, in terms of modern work, making sure every voice is heard. And they do that with their cameras, they do that with their audio, with their intelligent director. So like when you see a boardroom, it's not just one camera focused on the room. It's like the intelligent director, and other companies have this now too. But I think Cisco is really leading the way in making sure that people are seen and heard, that nobody's kind of left out of a meeting because the camera isn't focused on them. So I think that sort of goes in with kind of what they're trying to do on that front with modern work. The other thing, which I think is actually pretty significant, and not just because they're really cool, but so I actually have them right here because I'm using them and they're awesome. They introduced these Bang and Olufsen 950 earbuds, kind of a AirPod competitor.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting about this is not just because they work really well, but I think that from a branding perspective, this is really smart for WebEx. I heard this. I'm not the only one that thinks this. I heard this from press and analysts, and even from Cisco themselves, and from WebEx, that they have a little bit of a branding issue. That people look at WebEx and it's not Zoom. It's not a verb. It's not something that like everybody kind of looks at like a consumer brand. But when you put it with this luxury consumer brand, and they've done this with, WebEx and Mercedes and WebEx and Audi, they just haven't really done a great job of communicating that. And WebEx is an enterprise communication tool, but that doesn't mean that consumers aren't using it, right? Because just because you work in the enterprise doesn't mean you're not a consumer, right? Like, I mean, look, this is a prime example. I'm using a Yeti that has
Right.
Snapdragon on it, right? Like it is a consumer
Right.
brand, but it says Snapdragon. And this is just, I just happen to be using this, but it's actually a really good example. Um, so these are really, really nicely designed. I had such a funny use case for these actually at WebexOne. I hooked them up. The sound is like to be expected from Bang& Olufsen is incredible. I was literally like dancing in my hotel room. But then I did have one of those mornings where I had to listen in on a call and get ready for meetings downstairs. I could, I put them in. I was able to blow dry my hair and hear a call.
My gosh, I love that. I have to tell you, I've yet to encounter anything that's as good as the latest version of the AirPods, and I will be amazed if anything gets close to that. I'm a very hard grader on Apple, but if something like that can do it, I
Yeah.
will try it out and give my assessment. And my answer is yes, it needs to be better than
Mhm.
um, the any things from Apple.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
okay, I think that WebEx is at an interesting time strategically, and they have a lot of competition. I do think, though, we're not even close to nailing this hybrid work thing. And I think they play a major role in that. They play a major role in it already. And I'm interested to see kind of where they take this in the future.